this live.
Okay. All right. I want to start today's episode with what is probably one of the most, I don't know if awkward is a good word for it, conversation that we have every single week with somebody
Judy
who
never
ends up
feels
working.
awkward.
I
For
was gonna say I
everyone
don't feel
else, it's
awkward.
awkward.
I don't feel awkward. I guess like surprising but not surprising conversation of people who book a call and want to do run ads, right? And they're like, "Hey, I am ready, and this might be you. I'm ready to spend $10,000 a month on ads. I've saved up, I've got the money." And then I tell them no. Like no, like you're not ready to run ads. They're usually shocked, and they're usually shocked honestly when I say it's like actually about half of the people are ready to run ads who think that they are. Most of them are not. And so I say no, actually we're not, because they've already spoken to about, and this might be you, you've already spoken to a couple ad agencies already, and they're like, yeah, we'll run your ads for you. Like we'll set everything up. Like we're ready to go. And so imagine hiring a team. This is what usually happens, right? And we know this because we're usually people's like third, second, third, fourth ad agency, marketing agency. And the first thing they do is talk you like imagine hiring us, and the first thing we say is like, no, we don't need $10,000 a month to run your ads. We only need $1,500 a month to start on ad spend. Everyone is shocked. They do not believe us. Like nobody ever is like, yeah, that totally aligns. Like we believe you 100%. Nobody does it because it sounds crazy, but the reality, our reality, is that most of you do not have an ads per se problem, right? Like you don't have like that type of problem. What you have is a foundation problem, and for us that's like it's usually, and we're going to dive into exactly what that is, but there's holes in your business that you don't know about that we discover because we used to build those businesses. And so if you're going to pour gasoline on a fire that's already out of control, right? Right now, it may not be out of control to you. You're like, we're managing it. We're patching things up here and there. Like, don't worry. We're putting patches in. But you're going to make everything will become louder and bigger with ads. So wherever your company is right now, think about like, could you? And I saw this from another ad. It's like, if you were to 10x your business right now, what would break? And that's what's going to break with ads. So today we're going to talk about how your typical, those other ad agencies, not us, what they haven't told you, and why so many of you coaches, I mean, even if you're not a coach, like anybody thinks that like they need to run ads, and they're like, ads is going to solve all my problems. And this is, we're going to give you a different perspective on how to think about that today.
Yeah, for sure. So, hi everybody, I'm Greta. Welcome to Bringing Simplicity Unfiltered. I am founder, and each week Judy and I come here and have unfiltered conversations with you.
So unfiltered that we're not very good. You'll be able to tell, but so natural and authentic. And I'm Judy. I'm the CEO of Bringing Simplicity, and together, Greta and I and our team have scaled multiple business-to-business coaching businesses from 0 to 7 figures. And every week we just like to talk to you about different things. And so last week, and sometimes it's marketing systems apps. So if that's you, make sure to subscribe and so that way you're alerted of new episodes that we film. Sometimes they're live. Sometimes we just drop some episodes that we actually record together in person. So last week we talked about why low ticket offers aren't actually a business model, and why they're simply the front door to your business. And we're going to take it a step further today and say, like, once someone clicks on your ad, we're looking at what happens next, right? So a lot of people think like, oh, because I got a lead, I'm going to make money. Not necessarily. So we're going to talk about some mindset shifts that you're going to have today with your marketing.
Yeah, and before we dive into the things that you have to fix, I feel like we have to address like an elephant in the room that's almost more for us than other people. But if you've heard us talk over the last year, if you watched any of our videos, we have kind of had a revelation over the last few months. And it's completely changed the way we look at ads for years. And I mean, honestly, even to this day, Judy and I have been incredibly critical of agencies that bragged about getting low cost leads. We'd hear things like, we got your leads down to $3. And honestly, we didn't care. We were in the businesses. And so we were seeing that those $3 leads weren't necessarily converting. And so we were like, well, who cares if none of those $3 leads buy, right? And one of the things that we realized is that there was that disconnect on the front end and the back end, which is why we were there, between, first of all, who was being targeted, and then how those leads were then optimized to become somebody who wanted to buy. And here's the thing, we put our heart and soul into getting those $3 leads to then convert, but we weren't the ad agency, right? And so what we realize now that we've been running more of like just the ads part and we don't have our hands in the back end of the business is we maybe were overly critical of some ad agencies. Not all, because some ad agencies are just terrible. But the reason that ad agencies will talk to you about low cost leads or will have calls with you and say, I can get you low cost leads, I've worked in your industry or things like that, is because that is the only thing that we as an ad agency can control. They're focusing on the part of the process that they can ultimately optimize and use the strategies they know about. They're then relying on you, the business, to do the work that it takes to then convert them, right? Like a lot of times your ad agency isn't the one who's responding to DMs. They're not the ones who are writing the follow-up emails. They're not building out offers. They're not controlling your onboarding to see how happy your people are. They don't control your customer experience to ensure that you're getting really solid testimonials. They're not controlling whether you're consistently posting on social media and creating content that builds trust with people. All that they can control is who gets in, who the ads get in front of, and then ultimately whose information you that like how you use that information. And so that realization over the last few months has actually really changed the way we've worked with clients. And so we've never asked the question of how cheap can we get your leads. We have started having more conversations with people of, hey, we're doing a lot of the right things on the front end, but what we see you missing is like what happens after somebody becomes a lead, because that's where businesses are actually built.
Yes. And so the biggest shift that you guys like, Greta, what I heard from your biggest shift is like, don't focus on as like, because like a lot of you on here are like me, like you're like CEO brain, like visionary. You're like, what is all this that Greta just said? And my major takeaway was like, don't focus on just like how cheap your ad agency can get you leads. You need to focus on what actually happens after they get a lead. Like, don't worry, your ad agency will only look good if they're getting you leads at all, and if they're getting you ideal leads. Like, you're gonna be able to tell that immediately, right? You're gonna be able to tell that. You're gonna know pretty quickly. And so if you focus on what you do best, then your ad agency, I'm not saying that they can't necessarily fail at what they're doing, but
you're who makes the ad agency successful.
Ultimately. Exactly. They're gonna be able to know where to take your ads based on the foundation that is built. And so this is why one of the hardest conversations we have had to, like, with one of our clients is who launched a program before all of their back end was ready. They just like had an idea, and like as a people pleasing ad agency, we just want to be like, yes, let's give it a try. Let's run that. We're, but knowingly we might be bleeding money because the infrastructure isn't set up on the back end for the launch of your new offer or your new program. So while the content was great, there was trust already built, there were leads coming in, everything started to look good, and people then bought, and then they bought into like nothing, right? Because there was no backend, there was no There might have been a welcome email, but like automations weren't triggered to like get them into the platform. So like people are saying like, how do I log in, right? And imagine like you just sold 100 people and everybody's messaging you and like saying like it's not logged in, right? I never got my email, my payment, I need to update my payment method or whatever, things like that, right? And so you as the coach then are out of your zone of genius to fulfill because this wasn't set up. And so that's why we no longer do that. And we go and we actually test all the things. So actually, when you get on a call with us, the first thing we're saying is like, hey, like if you fill out a form right now, basically we'll say like, let us opt into your funnel. That's on purpose. We're testing your funnel to see if like we're getting all of the things and if things aren't broken and things aren't going to 404s and things like that, right? But you as the coach need to just be somebody. And this is where you got to surround yourself with key team members. But if you are not somebody who's just focused on creating content and doing sales, so like answering DMs or getting people to book a call with you and then fulfilling, then you're not running a coaching business, right? You're not running a coaching business. And you're not going to be able to, like once ads comes, imagine what's going to happen to your business if you don't have that set up. So of course, what we did was we're like, okay, we're going to do the launch again for you, but like, we don't typically do this, but we're actually going to like fix, like help you, get all the key team players in place in order to make sure that your automations and all these. And because we've been in the industry for so long and we've done this for years, we were able to like get a new, funnel up and running within a few weeks and start ads again and actually not lose, and actually recover from what was lost there. But the main takeaway is it wasn't the marketing, right? Because people are coming in. The marketing agency is only as good as what you've built on the back end. And so it was really an operational thing. And we're going to walk you through how to not have these operational mistakes in your business.
Yeah. And before we move on, I want to emphasize, and this is something we say all the time, ads don't build your business. They're going to amplify it. So, and I feel like we're saying this over and over again, but it's because we literally have these conversations over and over, right? People will say, I'm ready to run ads. I don't have any constraints. And I'll say, awesome. How many salespeople do you have who are going to take book calls? And they say, it's me. And I'm like, cool, that's your constraint. You can only do X amount of calls per day, right? So like if we run ads to that, that's your constraint. Or they'll say things like, I've never built out my backend system. That's your constraint. So you have to recognize that ads are going to amplify what you are or are not doing. And here's the thing, we're even talking about like they've bought. It all happens before that, right? What is your follow-up process to even get somebody on a book call? Most people aren't going to book a call the very first time they see you. What is your follow-up process for making sure people get into your newsletter list? What is your process for ensuring that you have a smooth transition into inviting them to upcoming masterclasses, right? How are you efficient or not efficient? And so if every time that you're doing something new, it feels chaotic, ads are only going to amplify that. Remember what Judy said, it's like putting gasoline on a fire. And if you felt like your business felt chaotic and out of control before, just imagine what it looks like when there are more people in there. And so a lot of times then people will get angry at their ad agency or they'll be like, well, you haven't made me money. But the reality is ad agencies are there to get you a return on ad spend, but they cannot fix your system and they can't be expected to, right? So where do we have to actually start? And what are the things that Judy, I love it because Judy actually had a conversation yesterday with somebody who was like, no, I want to run ads. And then like, we just went through a checklist and she was basically like, you can't run ads, right? Let me talk to you about what you need to do first. And so I'm going to hop in the very first thing. And this, maybe you're like, Greta, you haven't talked about this at all, but it's an indicator of the health of your business. So one of the ways that we can tell you're ready to run ads, so you could look at the alternative of you're not ready, is your content is consistent. So this isn't because you constantly feel inspired to post content. We talk to people all the time. Nobody wants to post on social media. Like, we don't want to post on social media. Our people who are making seven figures don't want to post on social media. but they have a system in place. They have team members to support them. They have somebody keeping them accountable to getting that content recorded. They have somebody who's editing it. They have somebody who's repurposing things that they've done in the past. They have somebody who's posting it. So whether you're busy or not, content is getting scheduled. That is the most basic system that you could install in your business. It's also the easiest people you could hire to support you in your business. Hiring somebody to post your social media content and create social media graphics will instantly give you time back in your schedule. And it shows you that you're capable of overseeing a team member. You get to do number 2 now.
Okay. I was like, these were not spread out. So I was like making sure that I wasn't like, okay. Yeah. And if you're someone who's like, oh man, I can't find somebody who, you know, can get my content, like this is a bottleneck for you where it's like, I just don't have the time, right? I need to be on sales calls. I just don't have the time. There's a simple process in a social media guide that we have that every one of our VAs follows. That's really simple to get them up and running. And within like we actually had it within 2 days for our graphics VA who does, social media posts. She does landing page design, like just a designer, like a really good designer. It'll just take a couple days to get your brand down. So that's something, if that's you and you're thinking that, feel free to reach out to us and we'll kind of give you some examples of that. Okay. The next thing is someone who owns your pipeline. So yes, you as the coach, if you are doing under 500K a year, you're probably the one managing your own pipeline. You should be, because you're going to have to, you're the best person to do those calls. Like you're the best person. But once you've like booked a call with them and they have or haven't showed up, there's other things that have to happen in your pipeline, right? That have to happen to re-engage them or to get the payments, method going, and just to answer just a few questions afterwards. Because usually after every sales call, there's like just a few questions that have to be done in the follow-up, right? So somebody needs to own your pipeline besides you for those other ones that you don't close, especially.
Yeah, for sure. The third is that your follow-up is predictable. So most sales aren't lost because somebody wasn't interested. They're lost because nobody followed up. So if your follow-up currently depends on your memory, that is something that needs to be fixed. And it can be as simple as sending a voice memo and having a note added in your CRM, or things like that with a key team member. But the reality is, if follow-up is completely dependent on you, you're leaving money on the table.
Yeah. And before I get to the next one, I really want to point out that a lot of you right now are like probably thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. I didn't think about any of these things with my business. I just naturally do them and think about them. Well, that's why working with an ad agency like me and Greta, who understand the whole process and have instilled these systems in multiple companies, come to you. I remember talking to a coach the other day where he's like, why didn't my marketing agency person tell me that like recording a voice memo or a video to my leads after they booked a call was going to get them to show up more? Was going to get them to show up more, right? Like, why didn't my ad agency tell me that? My marketing agency tell me that was going to increase my show rate for my booked calls? Like, because they don't know. A lot of marketing agencies honestly just focus on like that, like, and they're not doing a bad job. They're focused on what a marketing agency is supposed to be focused on. So when you hire a marketing growth partner or marketing apps, that's different. And we can train your team on how to do those aspects. So the next part is like, it kind of,
I feel like I almost like should do it.
I was like, why aren't you doing this one? Because like I shouldn't probably be doing this one.
Yeah. So knowing your numbers, and this is definitely the part of the sales call that I take over when I'm talking, is you don't need to just know your revenue. You need to know how many of your leads book calls, how many of those calls close. You want to know how long does it take for somebody who enters your pipeline to then buy. You want to know what is a customer worth to you, what's their lifetime customer value, because those numbers tell you whether ads will actually be profitable. And we have had episodes fully devoted to this, and I want to just talk about it endlessly. But the reality is, if you don't know that it takes somebody 100 and some days to buy, then you're going to end up screwed when it comes to ads, because that is the number one bottleneck that most people have when they go to start running ads is that your buying cycle is actually way longer than you think it is, which means your ad agency is going to have to do more. When all you say is, well, I'm profitable, I make a lot of money every month, then the question comes, well, how long does it take for a lead to go from a lead to buying? You can't create predictability in your ads without knowing that information. So if you're not tracking that and you don't have somebody who's capturing data on every person who's buying, again, like that's a super straightforward person to hire for your team.
100%. And the final one is gonna hurt a lot of you.
I know it hurts me. Stop calling me out.
So take a deep breath before you listen to the part. And afterwards, probably. Your business doesn't stop when you step away. So the test, and you've heard probably, I'm probably not the first one to say this, but if you disappeared for 2 days, you went on vacation, you had an emergency, would your content stop? It probably stops, honestly, for some of you right now who haven't taken a vacation or left your business in 2 days. Let's be honest. Would your pipeline, so then with that, since your content would stop, would your pipeline stop moving, right? You wouldn't have more leads. And then who's going to be responding to those leads, maybe less leads or whatever, like your inquiries. And then would sales just completely stop? And if the answer is yes to that, then you're probably not ready to add in ads into your business. You really need the core support that we just talked about, starting with your content, keeping that consistent. And so if there's one thing that I hope you guys take away from today, it's that you stop asking if I'm ready to run ads and you start asking about like, is my business ready to actually scale, right? So is it ready for growth? Does it have the foundation that it needs? Do I have the right CRM? Do I have the right team? Because then you start thinking about your business differently versus like ads are coming to save me. Ads are going to make me millions of dollars, which is not the best way to think about it. If that's what your thoughts are, you're not ready to run ads. I'm just telling you that right now. So, but the coaches that we've seen who scale the fastest aren't the ones with huge ad budgets. Again, we're starting at $1,500 a month for ad budgets. They're the ones who have the system, the team, and the consistency of their content before they even turn ads on. And you can do that with a very small team. Like I'm talking like if you have like 4 or 5 like key players in a great marketing agency that we just talked about, like you're going to have your 7-figure business in no time. But if you don't, you're just guessing at this point because you don't have those things in place. So that's why when you come to us, we actually ask a lot about your funnel and like, what's next? Like, it's usually like, what's next? What's next? Well, what will happen if this? What will happen if that? And so, and if you're someone who's like, I need more leads, I can't keep doing this by myself, I'm not posting content consistently, then that's something that we can talk about. If you're
Uh-oh, you just muted.
Oh, I did?
Oh, you came back.
That was so weird. Nothing happened. That's weird.
Welcome to Unfiltered.
Welcome to Unfiltered. We're live. So that's, but if that's something where you're like, hey, I know I'm not ready to run ads and I want to discuss what potentially is my next move, whether it be the system that needs to be put in place, the automation that needs to be put in place, or the team that needs to be put in place, feel free to schedule a call with us and we'll walk you through that. It's a free call and we'll walk you through, kind of what you need to be put in place. So Greta, is there anything else that I'm missing?
Not that I can think of. I just hope you guys got the message loud and clear. I feel like today we really tried to like hammer home the pieces. And it may have felt like we were being repetitive, but that is just because we really want you to understand that ads amplify what is already existing in your business.
100%. So we'll see ya in the next episode.
Bye.